All right, we're back. Bingeaholics Anonymous, Oscar month. We continue on to our second movie, Manchester by the Sea. I'm Anthony. I'm here with Mo Jangles. What's up, Mo?
How's it going, man?
Good, good. Ready to get to some super depressing Oscar talk right now.
Yeah, nothing better to do on a Sunday night.
Yeah, why not? Let's
Yeah,
just cry our eyes out. I like it.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess we'll. I just wanted to say right off the bat, I hate this movie. I
You're
didn't.
not gonna leave the suspense to the end on this one.
No suspense for this one. There's nothing to build up to. I hated it. I thought Casey Affleck was terrible in it. I know he's up for Best Actor. I'm sorry. I thought he did a terrible job.
Yeah.
It just for someone that's been through so much shit, he showed zero emotion throughout the movie.
Yes, I completely agree. He was totally out of it throughout the whole movie, but I 100%, 110% disagree about his performance being off. I thought this is probably the best acted film I've seen in a while. I didn't necessarily love the plot and the writing, I guess you could say, but his role, I actually like wrote it down. Like the first note I have is Casey, and then like the is greater than, like the math symbol,
Yeah.
Ben, because I can't stand fucking Ben Affleck anymore after he ruined Batman for me. So I'm totally full team Casey going forward.
Listen, I'm not here to defend Ben. I mean, say what you want about Ben. We'll leave Ben out of this for now. I just
No,
felt
no, no,
that
no. Let's bring Ben. Let's bring Ben into this.
we can bring Ben into it, but my opinion on Casey has nothing to do with Ben.
Fair.
I'm
Okay.
not saying whether Casey's better or worse than Ben. All I'm saying is I didn't like how this movie was acted on Casey's part, at least. I like the nephew's acting actually better than Casey's. It just I don't know, like all this shit is getting piled onto him, and he's just sitting there staring off into nothing. I get it's like supposed to be like he's been through so much stuff, he's numb to it. I get that, but even like the really, really, really emotional parts where he's supposed to like break down, he just kind of puts his head in his hands and starts like whimpering. Like I just didn't like. I mean, for him to be up for best actor, I think is absolutely absurd. I don't agree with it whatsoever.
But you have to think about it. Like it's not about him crying on camera. Like I think actors and actresses get judged so much on their ability to cry.
No,
Wait, time out. Let me
yeah.
finish my thought. Let me
Okay,
finish my
okay,
thought
okay, yeah.
because they he looked depressed. I think it's hard like to make your eyes depressed. Like throughout the entire movie, there was not once where I thought he was acting, and that's not because he cried. Just he changed his entire demeanor. Like when you hear about actors getting into their roles very seriously, I will put money on the fact that this guy was actually depressed while he shot this movie.
No, I can see that. I mean, and I see what you're saying about judging actors based on their ability to cry. I'm not saying I want him to be like bawling his eyes out. All I'm
Right.
saying is that when he was supposed to be real upset, like he didn't like he had the same like you were saying he looked depressed the whole movie. I get that he was at the same level for most of the movie, but those scenes where you're supposed to take it to that next level and you're supposed to break down, like when he finds out about his family. We're not trying to get too much into spoilers here, but he
Yeah.
just kind of like puts his hands into his face into his hands, and he just like you don't see it. Like I just
I'll
don't.
take it.
I just
So, you know what? You know what the movie was missing? I'll give you that. It was missing a scene where he just breaks everything.
that's what I'm saying. Like for someone who's been through so much shit, like you think
Yeah.
at one point he's gonna have some kind of breakdown, and it's just not there. I just didn't find that realistic.
No, yeah, the biggest like physical breakdowns were him getting into a couple fights. I think that was the
Yeah,
extent of it.
yeah, for sure. No, and honestly, you're saying you didn't really like the story or the writing, or you weren't a big fan of it. That's actually the part I liked about the movie more. Was just how the story was brought together. How it kind of jumped around. Like it started off you weren't really sure
Yeah,
how he got there, and we'll get into that. But that was actually probably my favorite part of the movie. But I just want to say, because I told a couple people before we recorded this my opinion on the movie, and they were like, "Oh, you must not have liked it because it was depressing," which isn't true at all. And I actually went online and I looked at, I googled like most like best depressing movies, and I have a list here of depressing movies that I like. And we have Deer Hunter, you know, De Niro, Christopher Walken, Million Dollar Baby, Requiem for a Dream, Fruitvale Station, great movie, Schindler's List, The Pianist. I could go on. Those are all depressing movies. I like all those movies. This movie I did not like.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made that the best movies are depressing because they make you feel more than a funny movie. But I like this movie. I did. I can't sit here and tell you I don't.
I wouldn't want you to.
Yeah, no. There's parts of it where I agree with you. There could have been more of like a climax as far as his emotional state and where he went with it. But I thought it was well done. I really do. But let's get a little bit into the plot. Let's go through it.
Yeah, for sure. So his name is Lee. Casey Affleck's character, his name is Lee.
Yeah.
Starts off, it shows him he's living in Boston. He's a handyman, and you kind of get a little taste into his life. Like, and again, we don't know much about him at this point. And this is one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Actually, it's just kind of a little montage showing him going around fixing people's stuff up, and this lady.
The sex scene.
Not this. I don't know if it's the sex scene, but the one where the lady's shower is like dripping or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And he's just like, you might have to recock it. You got to recock it. And then she's like, well, how do I know? He's like, well, you got to run it. You got to run the water and see if it works. She's like, oh, so you want me to take a shower? You want to watch me take a shower? Like, first of all, no. He just wants you to turn the thing on. Like, you
don't have to be in the shower.
Yeah, like I don't know why she was freaking out. And then this is one of my favorite lines where he goes, "I don't give a fuck what you do." She got pissed at that. I don't know. So you get a little view into him there. You see that he's kind of a dick, and you just kind of get a feeling for how, it just looks like a sad life that he lives. He just kind of goes around fixing people's apartments and stuff. And he lives in a one-room apartment, like literally one room, in the basement of one of the buildings. He just goes to a bar to drink by himself. There's a cute girl that hits on him, and he just deads her. Doesn't even like attempt to go with it, and then he ends up at the end of the night. Like, you just tell he's a miserable fuck.
Yeah. And I wrote down that like everything that happens to him, I guess, in this movie, or even any social interaction that he partakes in, he's always receiving. Like, he's never starting anything.
Right.
He never shows any initiative. And every like conversation he had is being had at him. Like, things are just like coming his way. And he's trying so hard to just be a fly on the wall, just be scenery. Like, his goal in this movie is just to like get away from people.
Yeah, no, I get that. I even wrote down that he's super awkward. Like, every interaction he has, as you were saying, he's always the one that's like receiving. But it's like, sometimes you just have to have a little, make a little small talk. Like he can't. Like, he just doesn't know how to carry on a conversation. He's just like the one scene later on when he's talking to the girl's mom, and they're just sitting there staring at each other. When he's trying to be the wingman for his nephew, that was just like. It's like, dude, your nephew's up there trying to get some, and you're just sitting there giving her one-word answers. Like, come on, it's like, talk about the weather or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it just speaks to how broken he is. But let's get back to the plot. Pretty early on, he gets a call saying that his brother's sick or whatever. He goes to the hospital. Brother's dead. He drives up to Manchester.
By the way, can I say that like that entire hospital scene, that literally just taught me what happens when someone dies. Like, I never put any thought into that. Like, they broke it down step by fucking step. Like, okay, when someone dies, like, there's an entire process behind it, and like I feel like movies skip over that kind of thing.
No, for sure, yeah, and that's what most of the movie is based on. Honestly,
right.
Is that whole process. But that's another scene where I was just like, you found out your brother just died, and he's really not showing any emotion. The only emotion he shows is at one point he just lets out like a big fuck. He's just like fuck, and that's it. Even when he goes to see the brother, like he just kind of sniffles a little bit when he's like looking at the body, like I don't know.
He was so numb throughout the entire movie. Throughout like every 20 minutes, I just wrote down like still no crying. Like, there's literally the worst things in the world are happening, and this guy's just taking them on the chin.
That's what, like, I didn't, like, Now, I'm not saying that, maybe that's how they wanted him to act that role, but I
Yeah.
just didn't like the way the character was reacting.
Okay.
I just didn't see, like, I get that, he's seen the worst stuff and he's really, numb to it at that point. But at the same time, it's like, I don't care how numb you are to it. You lose a brother, you lose,
Yeah.
part of your family. You're gonna
Yeah.
be, maybe you're not crying, but you're gonna be looking upset. He just doesn't. It just doesn't seem like it phases him.
Right. I mean, he does show affection though. Like he won't show sadness, but he does. Like he went and he like kissed his brother, like his dead body. Like
Yeah,
at the end of the day, he loves the guy's kid, even though he kind of treats him like a dick sometimes. There's definitely some. He definitely can still show love. I guess is the emotion you could
yeah,
put it at.
no, yeah. I mean, and he's kind of, he doesn't show it the normal way. He doesn't show it, like the way you would normally see love being shown to other family members. Laughing, joking, but like it's the little things he does. Like at one point, he's driving the nephew around, Patrick, and he keeps asking him, "Hey, can we go back to the house, pick up my instrument, and then drive me back to this girl's house?" And like it's all this driving around, and like most people are like, "Fuck you, go figure out a way to get there yourself." But you could tell like he does it for him. That's like little
Gives
things.
him money. He gives him money like 5 times.
Right, yeah. He asks him, "Hey, can I get, some ice cream, whatever." He gives him money. Yeah, no, and it's, he doesn't show it, in an outwardly emotional way, but he does. No, he does definitely show it throughout the movie. Um, Kind of in that Irish Catholic sort of
Yeah.
love way.
Yeah. By the way, totally like super stereotypical Bastin guy, like throughout.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna. There was they kept showing scenes where the brother had a boat, and when they were younger, they were out on the boat, and the nephew was real young, and that's when everyone seemed kind of happy.
Mm.
He kept looking back on those times, and they kept talking about the sharks in the water. I was like, the shark's gonna come out and get you.
Yeah. Schools
So,
of shacks. There's a school of shacks.
there's no schools of sharks. What are you talking about?
Ah, he's a smart kid.
He's a smart kid. He's gonna hunt some sharks. He caught a shark. Yeah, no, it was the sharks are everywhere. No, you gotta love the Boston accent. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, as far as for humor, I think what it brings me back to is like freshman year of high school, just watching Family Guy. That's when I think I fell in love with the Boston accent because, before that I didn't really have any interaction with anyone from up there because I was better than that, and that's when I finally found how funny it really is, and then obviously watching all the Wahlberg movies. So I enjoyed that. I definitely did. Some people can like hate on this movie for that. Like it's kind of annoying, but I loved every minute of it.
But it's authentic though, because that's the part of the country they're in. That's what you
It is.
expect.
Where are they? Are they like real up north? I don't know where Manchester is.
I mean, I'm guessing it's either in like Massachusetts or Rhode Island or somewhere because it's by the water.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's in New England somewhere because it's about an hour and a half away from
From Boston? From Boston?
Boston. Yeah, I don't know. It's in Massachusetts. I just googled it.
All right.
It's in Cape Ann in Essex County, Massachusetts. Okay, so it's right there.
Oh, can I bring up one thing real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So this should probably be talked about, especially in the beginning, but it's a common theme throughout. The weather, like this entire movie is shot in the dead of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And as we always like to say, nothing is an accident. Like the scenery and the dreariness of the town, and you could tell they talked about being cold many times.
Yep.
It just added to the whole, like, I don't know, negative vibes.
Everything's just kind of gray. All the
Yeah.
trees and the wildlife, not the wildlife, the
Yeah.
foliage. There's no foliage. There's no all the
That's a good
trees
word.
are dead. Yeah, I'm trying. I have my handy thesaurus on deck.
He's a smart boy.
It's a smart boy. Talk about foliage. No, and it definitely adds to the sense of kind of just despair almost. Just
Yeah. And there's something about seeing the ocean in the winter too that just it made me feel cold just watching it. You know.
Oh yeah, no, because especially when you're by the water, it's like an extra 10 degrees colder.
Bro, I grew up like right on the Hudson. It's true. Like you'll turn that corner, and you'll just get this constant stream of cold air.
Yep.
But it's wet. It's wet, cold air. It's like ugh.
Yeah, it's just miserable. Cold.
Yeah, it's bad news bears.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it keeps talking about, it keeps showing flashbacks. So we talk about the shocks, and then there's another scene where it shows Lee comes home to his family, or his ex-family, I guess. You don't really know exactly what happens yet at this point. He's got 3 little kids, 2 daughters and a baby boy, and then he's got his wife, Randy, which I thought was a weird name for his wife, but who am I to judge?
Yeah, I mean, they're in Boston.
They're in Boston. Randy,
my wife, Randy. It's my wife, Randy.
I spelt it with an I. I assumed it was Randy with an I because there's no way it would be like Randy like with a Y. So.
Oh, I wrote it hard Y.
Oh, hard Y. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, maybe it is hard Y. I don't know. I just assumed it was an I. But there's another scene which kind of comes into play a little bit later, is when he goes home with his brother and the nephew Patrick. Patrick is little, and the mother is just like passed out drunk on the couch, just out. Like the dog is barking like loud, and she's just out, not moving. Like she might be dead. I don't know.
Yeah.
She might be.
And wasn't she completely naked from the waist down?
I think she might have been. It didn't look like
she was flashing everyone.
Yeah, just full beef out for the out for the
that little 6-year-old kid just like saw where he came from real quick.
Yeah, that's like something that you kind of forget about, and then like when you're like 25, you're in therapy, and it comes up. You guys like, one time I saw my mom passed out beef on the couch when I came home. It's just like deep down in the yeah. I mean, there's a couple other flashbacks I'm trying to remember. Nothing too major, but then eventually, like you were saying in the hospital, they talk about all the things that you have to do. You have to call the funeral home. You got to set up all the arrangements, all this stuff. But one of the things is Lee has to go see the lawyer to read the will. This is when he finds out that he's in the will to be the guardian of his nephew Patrick,
which is a great scene.
Yeah, that is one of the better scenes in the movie. I'll admit that was a good scene. I enjoyed.
As far as dialogue goes, he was because wasn't he having like a trip at the same time? He was having a pretty intense flashback through that entire lawyer scene.
Yeah. So that was where you find out what happened to his family.
Right. Oh, okay. Because the music starts going. Another thing I enjoyed a lot about the movie. I know you're not a huge classical guy, but I know you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
This almost choir music that kept repeating with the violin and I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, I mean it definitely helped set the mood. It was definitely slower, or more of like it helped bring you down almost.
Yeah, it was almost like a requiem, like the kind of music they'll play at a funeral. Throughout the entire movie, so it was very, very morbid for sure.
No, definitely. And from there, the flashbacks he was having that's when you find out what happened to his family. So, as we said before, you saw that he had a wife and he had 3 daughters. So it's a flashback to, I don't even know what the occasion is, but he just has a bunch of buddies over. They're playing ping pong at like 2 a.m, just wasted.
Doing cocaine, playing ping pong.
Doing cocaine, playing ping pong. That's how I like to spend my Saturday nights.
I guess that's the only thing to do in Boston.
I guess so. Well, no, in Manchester. There's nothing to do in Boston. In Manchester, you got to resort to ping pong and cocaine. But so after that, while they're playing, the wife comes down. It's like, get these assholes out of my house. She's yelling at them, whatever. So he
total stone cold, like in front of 20 dudes. Like, get all these assholes out of my house.
Zero fucks given. She just comes in and she's just like, hey, I'm standing right here, lady. What do you want? So they kick him out, and then we find out what happens is he lights a fire in the fireplace because he can't turn on the furnace because it gets too dry and the wife can't breathe or something with that. So he
sounds like a her problem.
Yeah, come on, it's her fault. it's her fault. What happens because she had to turn the fireplace. But basically, he lights a fire in the fireplace and decides to walk to the store to get more beer at 3 in the morning. Which I mean, I don't hate that move.
He still had the jitters.
Yeah, he needed something to just bring him down a little bit. And then he comes back, and the house is just in flames. The wife got out, but the kids unfortunately don't, and that's just something that I feel like your marriage can't get over.
You divorce 100% of the time.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, yeah, I don't. So that happens, and that's the scene I was talking about where, he comes back from the store and sees a house on fire, realizes his kids are still in there, and even when they're bringing the bodies of the kids out the next day once the fire is done, he just has this look on his face like he just doesn't seem like he's like. I know obviously he's upset, but it just doesn't look like. And this is the first bad thing to happen too. This isn't like after years and years of bad shit happening. Like this is the first bad thing to happen, and he just doesn't have the look of a father that just lost 3 of his kids in a fire.
Right.
I just didn't. Again, I don't want to harp too much on Casey Affleck because I'm sure he's a good guy, but just the way these scenes were played out, like, I'm sorry, but you just lost 3 of your kids in a fire. You should be more upset than how you're portrayed.
Right. And I'm assuming you're talking about like that angry type of upset, right? Where you're like pounding the ground and like
anything. He just stood there like, maybe he was in disbelief. I get you're in disbelief, but anything, man. Just show me some kind of emotion for once. Like the whole movie, he had the same face, where he looked like he might be about to cry, but he doesn't, and then I don't know.
Yeah. I think there's only really one scene where he breaks down, and that's in the arms of that woman near the end. I think like the guy who's going to end up adopting the nephew, his wife's arms.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think that's the most he breaks down the whole movie.
Yeah. And there's, I get where you're coming from, and I agree with you. My counter argument to that is he kind of portrays pain as a man, and not like a man like any man, like a Hollywood man, like someone you expect to just internalize everything painful and just shut down completely. And I think that role is a little bit harder to play than you think, because there's a different kind of sadness. Like to show sadness verbally, vocally, physically is not easy. It's still difficult, but there's something about subtle sadness that I think might be harder to act.
No, I understand that, and I agree, but I just don't think he did that good of a job at it, which is why I'm saying I don't agree with him being up for Best Actor.
Gotcha.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying. Maybe I'm getting a little too worked up saying he did awful. That's not true. I mean, it's just that I don't think. I'm sure there's better acting performances out there than this year than he did. I mean, maybe there's not. I don't know. I haven't watched the other 7 movies or whatever.
You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb right now. You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
He wins Best Actor this year. Just to put in your face a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I haven't even fucking seen all the movies. That's just like a cocky prediction right there.
Listen, shooters got to shoot.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. So, I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not a professional critic.
Yeah.
But I just thought if someone else is in that role, it's a little better acted.
Yeah. We'll agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously time will tell.
Yeah. So moving on from the barbecue, from then on out, we kind of, we
Oh God.
Roasted his children.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. So anyway, like from then, I think we, us as viewers start seeing him in a very different light. And I think his distance and the way he reacts to things makes more sense from like this point of the movie on. But from here, they just continue, this relationship with his nephew, which I definitely wanted to touch on, which is even weirder because Casey's because I'm just going to call him Casey. I forget his name, to be honest with you. So
Lee.
Lee, there we go.
Yeah.
You know, his way of dealing with things makes sense. What doesn't fucking make sense is the way the nephew handles all of this.
Yeah. Keep going. I have
Because-
something to say about this too.
Right. I don't see him break down. The only thing he's really adamant about is his dad being in a fucking freezer. He didn't cry when his dad died. He took it to the chin too. This kid
Yeah.
is more worried about banging girls than he is about his dead dad. I wouldn't even be able to think about like banging 2 girls at once if my dad just died. I don't know about you.
No, I agree, and that was one of the scenes I want to talk about. The really only breakdown that the nephew has is when at one point he opens the freezer.
The freezer,
And
yeah.
a bunch of meat falls out, and that's like it. Also, up until that point, every night he's home, he has friends over, he has a girl over. There's always something going on. This is the first night that he's really home by himself.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's when he has the breakdown. You know, he has like the panic attack, and I thought that was, that I thought was one of the better scenes in the movie, and that was one of the scenes that like made me think that the nephew did a better job acting than Casey Affleck. I don't know. He just, I mean, maybe I'm just harping on him again, but I'll leave that. I'll let that rest. We've talked enough about the acting. But yeah, no, that's the one scene I actually have that like starred. I want to talk about that, but I just thought that was interesting because you know all the meat's falling out and just like all he could think about is like his dad's just a piece of frozen meat. Like,
yeah. Doesn't get more symbolic than that. That's a pretty yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, hey, you kind of have to give it to the nephew. He's a coxman.
He is, and once again, Hollywood gives us another coxman, and this kid is really working with what he's got.
And
I mean,
especially being a ginger, like a scrawny ginger looking.
By far the most average looking kid, you know, is just on this balance beam. There's one scene, I think it's at the funeral, that one girl leaves and then his other girl comes over. Jesus Christ, bro! At your dad's funeral, man.
That's like, really like cutting it close, you know.
Yeah. Like, and how do you like? Are you not thinking straight? Like, what if you get into that kind of confrontation at your dad's funeral? That's not.
Yeah, right. That's all you need is for
to
break out in the middle of your dad's funeral.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mother a little bit.
Okay. Wait, whose mother?
Actually, backtrack that a little bit. Let's talk about Randy. So before the funeral, Lee gets a call from Randy, you know, offering her condolences and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, can I come with, you know, my fiance or whatever?"
And she drops the Prego bomb, right?
And she's pregnant again. Yeah, so that's obviously like.
What?
A new fiance, or I don't know if they're married, fiance, whatever. And she's pregnant again, and he's still like a mess, basically. You know, so it kind of shows how, you know, how obviously a shitty thing happened, but it all shows, you know, it depends on who it happens to. People handle things differently. I mean, she obviously was, I'm sure, really upset when it happened, but she's moved on, sort of. Obviously, she's never going to forget, but she's, you know, she has another family. She's building another family now, and Lee's still over here, doesn't even want to talk to anyone, just sits around getting drunk, basically fighting people. I just thought it was interesting to see the contrast and how people handled that kind of situation.
Yeah, and she definitely she's the more mature adult, obviously. I mean, this guy's, you know, a janitor living in a one-room apartment and has no ambition to do anything else, like to even try to get over this. So there is a scene near the end where I think she like opens up to him and tells him that she's depressed too, and that she's, you know. Yeah,
actually, I kind of have. There's like a string of 3 scenes. That one's the one that kind of kicks it off at the end. I guess we could talk about it now. So he runs into her. This is later in the movie, I think, after they buried because they couldn't bury his brother right away because it was winter and the ground was frozen. I think it was after they buried him, once it was like kind of springtime again.
Yeah.
And she had the baby, and she bumps into him, and she's walking down the street. They bump into each other, and she's kind of apologizing to everything because apparently after it all happened, she blamed him and said some real fucked up things to him. And she's breaking down crying, and you can tell he just doesn't want any of it because he doesn't want to dig all that up. So he's
Right.
trying to get away. He's trying to get away, and right after that scene, which was a pretty emotional scene, he goes to the bar and he ends up getting into that bar fight. He gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
And then right after that scene is when he goes back to the guy George's house, the one who adopted the nephew, and that's when he has that breakdown you were talking about.
Right. Right.
So you can kind of tell like all this stuff being back in this town, Manchester's all just weighing down on him. And it was at this point that I kind of realized that, you know, when him and Patrick are debating where they're going to live, Lee wants to move back to Boston. Patrick wants to stay there because that's where all of his friends are and that's where all his stuff is, the school is, whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure why Lee wants to move back to Boston, but after those 3 scenes, it became really clear that the reason why he wanted to is because he couldn't live in that town anymore. There was just too much bad shit tied him to that town, too many bad memories.
Yeah.
And there's actually a scene right after he tells Patrick that he's going to be adopted by George and his family. He doesn't come right out and say it, but he's just like, why are you doing this? And he just says, I have quotes, I can't beat it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's when you
He's
kind of
accepted defeat. He's accepted the fact that he's never going to get over it. And the fact that you mentioned that, you know, the town is too much for him. It's got to be a small town because every time someone from the town is in a scene for whatever reason, they always refer to him as just like the local guy. Like everyone knows him, everyone knows what happened to him, and it makes sense. Like 3 kids burning in a fire, you know, is something that everyone knows about, especially in a town like that.
No,
So
that's yeah, and especially if it's a small town like that, like when you got 2 brothers growing up, like
yeah,
you know,
everyone
knows.
treats you differently. Like after something like that, no matter
Oh,
what.
oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, everyone. It's just how can you not? You know, it's knowing that someone's been through that kind of shit,
Yeah.
and that they're still affected by it. You kind of have to. But that right there, that scene kind of culminates the whole. You know, because it's like a constant argument throughout the movie. You know, and he first of all, when it first starts off, he's like, "No, we're going to Boston. We're moving back there." And then he's like, "Well, I'll let you finish out the school year." And then it becomes, you know, you could stay here. You know, I'll come back and forth, whatever. And that's again, we're talking about how he does love the nephew. He may not show it outwardly like most people do, but that's how you can tell he kind of does love the nephews when he ends up compromising. You know.
Right. And also he was very protective when the ex-drunk mom tries to get in touch with him. He doesn't want that to happen. So you know, he gives off this persona, especially to the nephew, that he doesn't care at all, like saying things in public like, "Oh, you want to be his guardian?" Like that was a great line, by the way.
You want to be his guardian, huh?
Like there's just things he says that makes him seem a lot stupider and a lot colder than he really is. You know, at the end of you realize he's just a good guy. The thing that I didn't really like about the character, not necessarily his acting job, obviously, but just the character, is how indecisive and like not in control he was. Like no matter what decision was being made, he seemed clueless to be able to even come up with an answer. Like the kid's asking, like, "Hey, can I have some friends over?" He's like, I don't know, what you asking me for, you know?
Yeah,
like, and it was just like, yeah, is this where I'm supposed to tell you to use a condom? Like,
yeah.
like he's just these clueless responses. So I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I get it, like you're out of it, you're depressed, but like he's also like not a man in certain. He doesn't take control.
Yeah, well, that kind of I feel like that could kind of go back to the fact that you know he was a father and obviously you know someone in our position, someone who doesn't have kids, never raised kids, wouldn't maybe know the right things to say in those kind of situations. And he's kind of in the same boat because he did have kids, but it got cut off. You know, they stopped growing once they died. So he only knows how to deal with like 6-year-old little girls. He doesn't know how to deal with this teenage boy.
Yeah,
You know, the 16-year-old boy. So I think that kind of plays into that a little bit.
no, that's a good point. And he's definitely just kind of working through with whatever he's got. He treats the nephew kind of like a peer. There's very few times where he gets kind of strict and controlling with him, or even put his foot down on a decision. The nephew's constantly in his ear. And again, I have to come back to it. Just throughout the entire movie, the nephew just like didn't seem to give a shit about anything but his social life. It was insane.
It was maybe that it just that's a way of showing that that's how that family kind of deals with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not the best at, and again, it kind of, especially when it's a bunch of guys in the family, maybe they're not the best at expressing their emotions. Maybe they're not.
Yeah.
They don't think that they should be showing that they're sad or that they're upset. And it's just two guys being dudes trying to get through some, a real shitty situation.
Yeah. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like that's kind of what Northeastern white culture is, to just, stomach pain and not let anything out. As far as men,
Yeah,
like
tough it out. Rub some dirt on it.
Exactly.
Especially I think they're Irish. I think their name is like Chandler or something. That's a pretty Irish name. So like, it's just that kind of, Irish kind of way of dealing with things. Just like, have a drink and just stew on it. Don't talk about it. Don't try and resolve it. Like, just deal with it.
Yeah, just go get into some fights at the bar.
Just like bury it deep down in your gut, and then one day it shows up as stomach cancer. Like there's no like dealing with shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then kind of the movie that's another thing I really like about the movie. There's no like real clear cut ending.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's just kind of like, yeah, you'll stay here, and like, I'm gonna work here in Boston, and I don't know, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even tell you the last scene in the movie. I don't even, because it was such not that I need like a climax ending or a super memorable scene, but like it just seemed like it was an unfinished story almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny you say that because I do remember the last scene. It's just a flashback. Oh no, it's not. It's them fishing together in the present on the boat.
Okay.
Which is a cool scene. It's kind of a silver lining to like the biggest shit fest I've seen in a while, as far as like a depressing movie goes. So I kind of did like the ending. It was as happy as it could have been.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I agree. It was definitely the happiest it could have been, but
wasn't memorable for you. No, I got you.
And I don't know what kind of ending I was looking for exactly, but that really wasn't it.
Right. I think this movie kind of had a different plot pattern than most movies. It kind of climaxed near the middle, where you find out what happened to him and you get most of the answers, and then it kind of ties up some loose ends at the end. One thing I wanted to mention very quickly was most of the important scenes in the movie were either silent, I feel like, or there was music playing over them, and they could have either been dialogue scenes, like scenes where Casey's talking to a lawyer, or I don't know. I feel like a lot of things were not even spoken. Like, you can see they were talking, but there was no actual audio.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like the movie. Everything about it, really. There wasn't one thing that I saw and I was just like, that's what I like about this movie. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't have much else to say about it. I mean,
yeah. Oh, one last thing. This was probably the one thing that made me kind of chuckle about this movie. If you noticed, all of the clothing Lee was wearing, whether it was a sweater, a T-shirt, or anything, it was all the brand name Champs, like with the little C.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Champs. And it's just funny because like he's so not a champ, but he wore like 3 different shirts from Champs. So I thought that was kind of funny.
And that's like the type of clothes that like those like massholes wear. Like this is like stereotypical, just like Irish Boston guys, just like rocking Champs hoodies and sweats and stuff. Like, that's
and like sweaters and T-shirts with like numbers and letters that don't make sense. With like just generic clothing.
Yeah, just like like some random team name established 1934.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
those kinds of shirts.
like
No,
bought at the same store that they get their food from. It's like a food and shirt store.
food and stuff.
Food
like,
and stuff.
Like in Parks and Recs, food and stuff. No, and that was like one of the better things of the movie, I guess, was that it was like authentic, like Boston, like Massachusetts, New England kind of, in terms of, you know, the location, the weather, the accents, like even the clothing, like you were saying. Yeah, I mean that was probably my favorite part of the movie, if I'm being honest. But
Yeah. I mean, as far as that, I don't think I have any other, you know, major points. I think we really covered it. You know, obviously our scores are going to differ a little bit more than they did for the last one.
yeah,
Safe to say.
yeah, no, definitely. All right, so I guess we'll get to the scores, but before we do the scores, a little word from our sponsors. And again, we don't exactly have any sponsors yet.
Yeah, are they our sponsors, AP?
Well, it's more of a person than a company.
Okay.
That I want to be our sponsor. But before I get into that, I just want to say that if anyone does want to be our sponsor, we're open to being bought.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to buy for cheap, not, I mean, we'd like to be not so cheap, but if all you have to offer is cheap, we'll take it. I'll endorse. You know, we were talking about tampons before the show. I'll endorse some tampons. Whatever. It depends. Adult diapers. I'll wear the fuck out of some diapers if it means getting some money for it. So our sponsor for this show is Katy Perry, because I've been listening to a lot of Katy Perry music lately for some reason. I've been in a weird spot lately.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
All I'm going to say is that my parents, they're in their Florida house for the next 2 months, and I'm kind of just here by myself. So I've just been kind of walking around the house
loose.
And I found myself the other night at 4 a.m. dancing in my bathroom to fireworks. You ever seen Ted when the bad guy is like dancing in front of the TV? That's how I was dancing to fireworks at 4 a.m. So that's kind of when I had like a little reality check with what's going on with my life. So I just want a little shout out to Katy Perry. She's getting me through some weird times.
Yeah.
So that's our sponsor, Katy. I know you're a fan. If you want to hang out, you know, just message me or whatever. We can make something happen. My score. I mean, as much as I shit on it, I know it wasn't a bad movie, so I'm not going to give it an awful score. There was definitely some redeeming qualities, as much as I joke about, you know, the champs and the clothing and everything and the shocks. I have to go with like a 6.5.
Okay. 6.5. It's a lot higher than I thought you were going to go with, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it was so hyped up. Like everyone was telling me, "Oh, you're gonna like it, you're gonna like it." And I saw Casey Affleck, you know.
Did you say Affleck?
Casey Affleck. Affleck. What is his name? I don't know. Casey Affleck.
No, Affleck. But I feel like you said Afflex. Whatever the.
You know, Affleck, Duck, depressed guy. It's all the same. They both talk like ducks. But yeah, no. Once I saw he was up for Best Actor and that this was up for Best Picture, I was expecting a lot more. So maybe that's also why I didn't like it as much, because I had my expectations built up. But I feel like I'm pretty good at keeping my expectations at bay for the most part when I watch TV shows and movies. But 6.5 is what I'm going with. What about you?
Okay. I'm gonna stick with a 7.4.
Okay. 7.4. So we're doing the average, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna average them together.
Okay.
You got a little calculator?
Yeah, I got it. Give me a second. So 6.95.
Round that up to a 7 flat.
Should go with a 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a 7. So as of right now, La La Land is in the lead with the 7.5. And I have to say, I mean, I just talked about listening to Katy Perry in my bathroom at 4 a.m. So it's clear that I'm comfortable, you know, with my masculinity and talking about this kind of stuff. But I did like La La Land better than Manchester by the Sea.
I can say I did too, and I'm a little disappointed in myself just for saying it. because I liked both movies. But you know, we watch movies to be entertained. I was more entertained by La La Land.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
this is definitely more of a movie you would, you know, recommend to a man than a woman, probably. And even if you were to recommend it to a man, they'd probably ask you if you're okay. So, um,
Yeah,
that being said, I probably won't be recommending this movie, even though I liked it, just because, you know, unless I really didn't like the person, I don't really want to bum out their day. It's like not a
yeah.
recommendable movie almost.
I was gonna say I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it again.
Definitely not.
Not because I didn't like it so much, but just because
Yeah.
it's so like so such depressing. There's just loneliness, death, despair. Just that's not how you want to spend a Saturday night.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess 7, and the other one was 7.5. We got to pick our next movie now. So let me pull up the list, and then we could make another pick. So
So did we decide that we're going to do every Monday and Friday? We'll do releases for these.
oh yeah, so we're gonna do it every Monday and Friday because, like we were saying, there's a lot. Hold on. There's a lot of there's 9 movies, so
Yeah.
to have to do all those, I planned it out. We're gonna release one every Monday and every Friday up until the Oscars, and the Oscars I believe are on a Sunday, so we'll have
Yeah.
the last one out by Friday the 24th, I believe it is.
Yeah,
And
that
then
sounds right.
and the Oscars are on the 26th. Let me check. I have the calendar right here. Yeah, so the last one is going to be on Friday the 24th. We're going to come out with it. And then the Oscars are going to be on Sunday the 26th of February.
Yeah.
So that way you have time to listen to all of them before then. We're not going to bombard you with all of them the last week or what have you. So yeah, I had the list of movies up here. Pick a number 1 through 7 for me, Mo.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go with a 3.
3. Okay, Hell or High Water.
What?
Hell
High
or
Water?
yeah, High Water.
Wow, that's one I can't even remember what it's about.
You seen it though?
No, not at
Oh,
all.
you have it. Okay.
I didn't even know it was nominated.
Yeah, no, it looks like there's a guy wearing a cowboy hat and some guys holding duffel bags.
Alright.
Looks like a modern western. It's the crime film / crime drama.
Okay. That'll definitely
98,
be a bit of a change.
98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'll give it a shot.
Cool. So we'll reconvene on Thursday night.
Yeah, so next Friday, look for Hell or High Water. Any closing words before we get up on out of here?
Yeah. You know, I think I'm gonna kick off my week on this movie here. It's gonna be probably the worst week of my life.
Yeah, it's a great way to get the week started. Just some family death.
Yeah. Great acting job by Casey. Even though IP doesn't agree. I definitely appreciated it. Never gonna watch this movie again.
Yep,
So
agreed.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. And all you fans, all 5 of our fans out there, until next week, just make sure you binge responsibly.